Now, Peter, the timing is perfect, impeccable as always. It's great to see you. I would have loved to have the full 2 hours. I'll take whatever I can get with Peter King. So welcome back, and I hope all is well in your world.
Everything's going great, Mike. I watch from the sidelines, and I'm glad to not stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning on Sundays anymore.
Well, I'll tell you, and I've almost texted you a few times on Monday mornings this year. It just is still weird to wake up the day after a game or the whole slate of games and not have that thing to read in the morning that would inevitably have some holy shit, like, wow, like that happened? Like they did that? Really? And there was always great stuff in there, and it was just part of everyone's routine. And I'm sure you hear from people all the time. To the extent that you still make your email available, which I regret ever doing for myself, and I do dread the day that I'm no longer doing this, because I have a feeling the complaints, where'd you go, are going to keep showing up indefinitely for months, if not years to come, right? But yeah, I mean, it was a huge part of our overall enjoyment of the NFL, and I knew at the time nothing could or would take its place. And all due respect to anybody else who's out there that's trying, nothing has taken the place of what started as Monday Morning Quarterback and became Football Morning in America.
Well, thank you, Mike. And, look, I love doing it. You don't do something like that for, I mean, I did it for whatever, 23, 24 years. I don't know, however long it was. Longer than that, really, 26, I think. But, that became, when I was growing up, I loved the notes column. I grew up halfway between Boston and New York and read a lot of Peter Gammons in the Boston Globe and said, how does he do all that? How can you write all this each week? And so I sort of put it on steroids. But the other thing I really enjoyed about it, Mike, is that it forced me to be involved and to try to stay somewhat current with 10, 11, 12, 13 teams every week. And if you're going to cover the league, you have to, be able to, call John Schneider on a Friday and say, so what do you think of the Sam Darnold for Geno Smith trade now? And what do you, so those are the kind of things that became, I would say to myself, hey, you're not just doing the games on Sunday, you need to do other stuff. And so it was helpful. It allows you to do your homework. And anyway, it was just a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and I appreciate your kind words.
Well, and I'll tell you one quick story before we move on. I remember a time when we first took the show from 30 Rock to the NBC Sports Studio in Stamford, Connecticut. We would stay at the Delamar.
Yeah.
And there was a night where, I mean, you didn't wake me up, but you were in the room next to me. Something woke me up, maybe an impending intestinal requirement, the likes of which Tatiana's apartment never would have been able to hold. But I was awake, and I could hear you talking, still on the phone at like 3 a.m. It's like, good Lord, I can't believe this guy's still going. Because we'd been up all day in the studio all day. We do Football Night in America. By the time that we're clear, I'm done, and you're still going. So anyway, well, Peter, the timing, as I said earlier, is perfect because the story of the week, the Bill Belichick snub by the Hall of Fame. And I just want to set this up because I think we finally gotten to the point. We don't know the motivations for the people who didn't vote for him. No one voted against him because it's not like that anymore. I think the fundamental problem here is that their change in the approach that takes 5 candidates, coach, contributor, 3 seniors, put them in one bucket, and every voter votes for 3, and anyone who gets 80% of the vote gets in. That created directly this problem by forcing those 5 into the same mix and pitting them directly against each other and compelling the voters to leave 2 aside. and too many left aside. The one of those five, I think we all could objectively agree, is the most worthy of being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I know at this point, Mike, we have a situation that is kind of incongruous to the way we think it should work. Okay. And by that, I mean, if you could design a system that would make it harder to get into the Hall of Fame, and I think the Hall of Fame didn't really want to become the College Football Hall of Fame or the Basketball Hall of Fame, where, they're whatever, I don't even know, 10, 12, 16, 18 get in a given year. I think they wanted to make it more of an exclusive club, which I think is admirable. I think is a good idea. The only problem is the unintended consequence of putting Ken Anderson against Bill Belichick is that people who really want Ken Anderson to get in the Hall of Fame are definitely going to vote for him. And they're also going to be at least tempted to say, okay, listen, is there anybody, do I have a friend who I might be able to say, hey, listen, if you vote for Ken Anderson, I will vote for your guy for sure, and all that other stuff. And it's an unintended consequence, whereas it used to be, Ken Anderson, vote for the whole body, 50 people in there, vote yay or nay on Ken Anderson. And if he gets 40 votes, he's in. If he gets 36 votes, he's not in. And so now creating this competition, which I understand was done so that it wouldn't just be a rubber stamp, and I totally get it. But obviously now they've got to figure out another way.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I joked on the way to break that it's all your fault that it's like this. I think it is like this because of the excellent interview you did with Deion Sanders at the Super Bowl 3 years ago. That thing was great. It gave us ideas. We've created our own Upper Room Hall of Fame, Deion Sanders, named for him, of the best of the best, because he complained too many are getting in. And I think the only way you deal with that is you have an upper room of the true all-time greats, and we know them when we see them. They are the mic drop, no-brainer, no need for discussion, best of the best. That's the only way to handle his concern. I don't think you raise the bar higher, and this new protocol does that. I assume they intended that. It makes it harder to get in. Last year, there was that 5-person cluster. Sterling Sharp was the only one who got 80% of the vote. So you've got other people that these committees have worked and whittled down. And here is the product of hours, weeks, months of effort to give you our nominee from the Blue Ribbon Committee. Sorry, come back next year. So come back 1 year. So,
Mike,
I think that it all came from Deion, Peter. I think this all flows from the take that Deion had, and they reacted to it the wrong way.
I don't love that idea because, to me, it's easy to sit here and say, well, the guys who belong in the upper room when you see them. Do you? It's like saying, well, pass interference when you see it. And then there are gradations of pass interference. This would be exactly the same thing. Just imagine, Mike, if Deion Sanders and Emmitt Smith get in the upper room and Warren Sapp and Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin don't. They get in the, quote, middle room or whatever it is, okay? I mean, what do you think? What do you think's going to happen? What do you think Michael Irvin and Warren Sapp are going to say? I'll tell you what they're going to say. I'm never stepping foot in Canton again. F the Hall of Fame. I'm just telling you. These guys have pride. If they're in the Hall of Fame, You know what it's going to be like if they put 60 guys in the upper room and all the rest of them are foraging down at the urinal in the, come on. It's not, that's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And I understand where people want to say, okay, let's have some gradation, but the Hall of Fame was never meant for that. If you're in, you're in. And I realize that Deion Sanders thinks that, the Rayfield Wrights and Tom Flores of the world or whoever don't belong in the same Hall of Fame as he does. But I just think it'd be a slap at the people who don't get in the upper room.
But obviously, the idea of changing the rules, what they've done, making it harder to get in, that just creates a bigger logjam. It keeps more people out. It makes people wait longer. All the other coaches who deserve to be in are still going to have to wait for Bill Belichick to get in now before they do. I think that the reaction, if it did happen as a result of what Deion said, the reaction was the wrong one. And the first thing they can do to make this right is to admit it and go back to the way it used to be, with a list of finalists, and it's up or down for each one.
Either that, Mike,
because
you can do it. You can do it any number of ways, but this way doesn't work. There might be a way where you say, okay, here's 3 seniors. Okay, now you can vote for 2 of the 3 or whatever. I don't know what it is. I just know that this one is not working.
Do you believe that the people who voted against, or more accurately, did not vote for Bill Belichick, should reveal themselves? So far, 2 have.
I've always said I think our votes ought to be public. And if you don't want to have your vote out there voting yes or no on somebody, then you shouldn't be on the committee. That's how I feel. Now, the biggest argument against that is, what if you are the San Francisco guy and you don't think that Roger Craig's a Hall of Famer and you vote against him? Well, it's going to be hard for you to show your face in San Francisco or San Jose again. And I'm not saying that any of those guys feel that way. The guys from the Bay Area or women, I think it's all guys. But I'm just saying that that's the only logical argument. But I do think, in the interest of transparency, that everybody should have their vote known.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.